I stare at the flickering candles stuck in a store-bought cupcake, the tiny flame dancing as if mocking my solitary celebration. 26 years on this earth, and here I sit alone at my kitchen table, the silence broken only by the occasional car passing by outside my apartment window. My phone lights up again. Fourth time in the last hour. Mom and Dad. 7 years of silence, and now this. My hands shake as I reach for the device, then pull back as if it might burn me. The stark white walls of my modest apartment suddenly feel like a fortress, a sanctuary I've built brick by brick. No raised voices here, no walking on eggshells, no Rachel. The memory flashes unbidden our childhood home with its perpetual cloud of tension, the constant orbit around my sister's moods. The way my parents' eyes would flick to Rachel whenever she entered a room, assessing, preparing. My phone buzzes again, rattling against the wooden table. The cupcake's frosting has started to droop in the candle's heat. Maybe it's an emergency. Maybe someone died. Maybe I'm a fool. I swipe the screen and press the phone to my ear, my voice barely above a whisper. Hello? There's a brief pause, a sharp intake of breath, and then my father's voice fills my ear. It's older, gruffer, but unmistakable. Megan, sweetheart, happy birthday. His forced cheerfulness lands like a false note, jarring and wrong. My father never remembered birthdays without my mother's reminder stand. He certainly never called me sweetheart. Richard, let me talk to her. My mother's voice, closer to the receiver now. Megan, is that you? Oh, we've missed you so much. The words come too quickly, tripping over themselves in their eagerness. A knot forms in my stomach, familiar and sickening. This isn't a reconciliation call. Why are you calling? I ask, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. Silence stretches between us, thin and fragile. I can almost hear them exchanging glances across their living room, the same silent communication they've perfected over decades of managing Rachel's episodes and my reactions to them. Well, we've been thinking about you. My mother again, her voice softening into the tone she used when explaining why we couldn't have friends over, or why my school play wasn't as important as Rachel's therapy appointment. It's been too long, and Mom, I cut her off. It's been 7 years. Why now? Another pause. I hear my father clear his throat. Well, honey, we've had some complications. Your sister's been going through a little trouble. There it is. My free hand curls into a fist on the table. Of course it would be about Rachel. My mother jumps in, words tumbling out. It's nothing serious, just a misunderstanding at work. You know how people can be, how they don't understand Rachel's sensitivity. I say nothing, waiting. I've learned that silence often reveals more than questions. The thing is, my father continues, his businessman voice taking over. We need to hire a good lawyer. Rachel needs proper representation. We need $75,000 by Friday. The amount hits me like a physical blow. $75,000. My entire savings and then some. For Rachel, I repeat flatly. For your sister, my mother corrects, that edge of steel beneath her pleasant tone. Family helps family, Megan. A memory surfaces, unbidden and sharp. My 8th birthday. I'd been unwrapping presents a doll I'd begged for, some books, a sweater from Grandma when Rachel started screaming. She'd been 14 then, tall and gangly with our father's dark eyes and our mother's sharp features. Something about the attention I was receiving had triggered her, and within seconds, my carefully arranged gifts were scattered across the floor as my parents rushed to comfort her. She can't help it, my father had said later, as I gathered my trampled presents. You need to be more understanding. Understanding. As if I hadn't spent my entire childhood understanding. As if I hadn't nursed bruises from Rachel's episodes while being lectured about her difficulties. I think of the family portrait that hung in our hallway for years. Everyone smiling except me. I'd tried, but something in my eyes had given me away the knowledge that I wasn't really part of their unit, just an accessory to it. Then, the final memory, the one that changed everything. 18 years old, clutching my college acceptance letter, the full scholarship I'd worked so hard for, my escape. "We had you to take care of Rachel," my father had said, not unkindly, just matter-of-factly. "Your sister needs you more than some college does." My mother nodding in agreement. "We always knew you'd be the responsible one, the one we could count on." That night, I'd packed a single suitcase and called my grandfather. I left without saying goodbye. "Megan, are you still there?" My mother's voice pulls me back to the present. "We can discuss a payment plan if that's easier." I look at the cupcake before me. The candle has burned down completely, drowning in a pool of its own wax. "No," I say, cutting off my father's beginning pitch. "No, I don't think so." "Megan." I end the call mid-plea. For a long moment I sit motionless, staring at the darkened cupcake. Then I stand, walk to my bookshelf, and pull out a worn leather journal. The words "never again" are written in faded ink on the cover, a promise I made to myself the day I left. I open to a fresh page, write today's date, and then, with a steady hand, "They called. They want money. Some things never change." What would you do if your family only remembered you existed when they needed something? Would you answer that call after 7 years of silence? I close the journal and place it back on the shelf, suddenly aware of how peaceful my apartment is, how completely it belongs to me, how free I am. Their problems are no longer mine. The blue light of my computer screen casts shadows across my face as I click through court records. My office feels smaller today. The walls of awards and certificates that usually remind me how far I've come now seem like they're closing in. I stare at the headline on my screen, reading it for the third time. "Woman assaults coworker. Claims emotional regulation issues." Rachel's face stares back at me from the article photo. She looks so much like Mom now. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Jeff says, leaning against my doorframe. His usual easy smile fades when he sees my expression. "Everything okay, Megan?" I minimize the window, my hand trembling slightly as I reach for my coffee mug. "Just some family." Jeff hesitates, then steps inside and closes the door. "I know that look," he says, settling into the chair across from me. "I didn't speak to my parents for 5 years." I look up, surprised. "You never mentioned that." "Not something you put on a resume," he says with a half smile. "My father was controlling. Mother enabled it. When I finally set boundaries, they went scorched earth, told the whole family I abandoned them." "How did you handle it?" I ask, recognizing my own story in his words. "Kept living my life. Built something they couldn't tear down." He stands, straightening his tie. "Whatever you're dealing with, remember you don't owe toxic people a place in your life, even if they're family. Especially if they're family." Jeff nods but doesn't press further. That's what I appreciate about him. He respects boundaries, something my family never learned. After he leaves, I reopen the article. It wasn't just one incident. There were others, 5 workplace incidents in 3 years, all quietly settled, all paid for. All buried until someone finally pressed charges. My phone vibrates. Grandmother. "Megan, honey, I need to tell you something," she says without preamble. Her voice sounds older than I remember, frailer. "Your parents have been telling stories about you." My stomach tightens. "What kind of stories?" "That you abandoned the family because you couldn't handle responsibilities. That you were jealous of the attention Rachel needed." She pauses, her breath crackling through the line. "They've made your mother into some kind of martyr, poor Ellen, dealing with an ungrateful daughter while caring for Rachel." I press my fingers against my closed eyes. "And Dad?" "Oh, Robert's playing his part perfectly. We've given Rachel everything she needs to succeed." As if throwing money at problems fixes them. The familiar edge returns to her voice. And that sister of yours, she tells anyone who listens that you abandoned the family out of selfishness. The weight of their lies settles on my shoulders like a familiar heavy coat. 7 years of silence, and they've been rewriting history the whole time. My phone pings with a text. Grandfather. You don't owe them anything, Maggie. Not one damn thing. I smile despite myself. At 82, he's still my fiercest defender. I shut down the computer and gather my things. My weekly appointment with Dr. Landry isn't until tomorrow, but I call to see if she has any cancellations today. The warm lighting of her office, the comfortable chair where I've shed so many tears over the years, I need that safe space now. By the time I get home, Emma is waiting at my door with takeout bags and a bottle of wine. Bad day? She asks, taking in my appearance. The worst. She follows me inside, setting out containers of pad thai on my kitchen counter. Want to talk about it? I hand her plates from the cabinet. Found out Rachel assaulted a coworker. Parents are asking for money to make it go away. Emma's eyebrows shoot up. After 7 years of silence? And apparently they've spent that time telling everyone I'm the villain who abandoned my poor troubled sister, I add, pouring us each a glass of wine. Emma's hand covers mine. Family isn't always blood, Meg. You know that. I nod, thinking of my grandfather, of Emma, of Dr. Landrith, people who actually show up when I need them. My phone buzzes with a voicemail. Dad. Megan, if we don't get this money by Friday, Rachel could go to jail. This isn't a game. His voice sounds thinner than I remember, stretched with worry. Delete. An email notification from Mom, where I bandaged my own cuts and calmed my own fears. Delete. A text from an unknown number. You always were the selfish one. Block. I open my laptop, determined to finish what I started at the office. It takes 3 hours of searching, but I find it student loans opened in my name during my college years. Loans I never applied for, never signed for, never knew existed. My hands stop trembling. Instead, a calm clarity washes over me, the kind that comes with certainty. The next morning, I call the credit bureau. Yes, ma'am, I understand, the agent says after I explain. This is clearly identity fraud. We'll start the dispute process immediately. Relief floods through me. Thank you. After hanging up, I drive to the phone store and change my number. The young clerk smiles as she hands me my new SIM card. All set. Back in my apartment, I open my laptop and begin drafting a letter to my parents' lawyer. Each word feels like laying another brick in the wall between my past and my future. To whom it may concern. This letter serves as formal notice that I, Megan Carter, will not be providing financial assistance for Rachel Carter's legal matters. Furthermore, I have initiated identity theft investigations regarding student loans fraudulently opened in my name. I pause, my fingers hovering above the keyboard. Grandfather's words echo in my mind. You don't owe them anything. He's right. I've spent years rebuilding what they tore down: my confidence, my peace, my sense of worth. I won't let them demolish it again with guilt and manipulation. I finish the letter, each word a declaration of independence. Have you ever discovered that someone was telling lies about you for years? How do you rebuild your reputation when your own family has been undermining you? Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you simply build a new life so solid that their lies can't touch it anymore. I spot her the moment I push through the revolving doors of Thompson & Klein. My mother stands in the marble-floored lobby, her caramel highlights catching the morning light. Designer handbag clutched against her chest. My stomach plummets. She's dressed for an audience in a tailored navy dress that probably cost more than my rent. 3 steps in, she notices me and her face transforms, eyes widening as tears spring forth on command. For a moment, I'm 8 years old again, watching her practice expressions in the bathroom mirror before my father's business dinners. Megan! Her voice carries across the lobby, drawing the attention of the security guard and several colleagues passing through. "Oh, sweetheart, finally!" I freeze mid-stride, briefcase suddenly heavy in my hand. This isn't random. This is deliberate. She's created a stage and cast herself as the heartbroken mother. She rushes toward me, pulling a stack of photographs from her purse. "Look what I brought," she says, voice wavering perfectly. "Remember this Christmas? And here's your high school graduation." She thrusts the photos at me, ensuring everyone nearby can see. "How could you abandon us like your sister needs you?" My colleague Jenna slows her pace, eyes darting between us with undisguised curiosity. Two interns have stopped completely, watching the drama unfold. An odd calm settles over me. I've spent years imagining this moment, rehearsing it in therapy, dreading it in nightmares. But now that it's here, I feel nothing but a strange, quiet strength. "Mother," I say, keeping my voice level and professional. "This is my workplace. You need to leave." "But Rachel," "is not my responsibility." The words come out clear and firm. "Never." Her face flushes, the practiced vulnerability slipping for just a second. "After everything we've done for you?" The security guard approaches, his expression concerned. "Miss Carter, is everything all right?" "No, it's not." I turn to him, shoulders squared. "This woman is harassing me and disrupting my workplace. She needs to be escorted out." My mother's mouth falls open. This isn't the script she prepared for the one where I crumble under public scrutiny, where guilt drives me back into line. "I'm her mother," she protests, voice rising. "Tell him, Megan. Tell him who I am." "I know exactly who you are," I say, suddenly aware that I'm standing taller than I have in years. "And so will everyone else," continue making a scene. The guard nods, understanding passing between us. "Ma'am, come with me." As he leads her toward the exit, my mother looks back, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. "This isn't over, Megan." But watching her diminish through the glass doors, I realize something has ended. Her power over me. The fear that has lived in my chest since childhood. My phone vibrates in my pocket. Unknown number. I silence it, only for it to start ringing again immediately. When I reach my desk, there's a message waiting. "Elaine wants to see you. Now." Elaine Carter, Director of Client Relations and my direct supervisor, doesn't look up when I enter her office. Her face is tight with annoyance. "Your father has called 3 times in the last hour," she says, finally meeting my eyes. "Claims there's a family emergency requiring your immediate attention. Said you weren't answering your phone." She taps her pen against the desk. "He tried to convince me to give him your current address." My throat tightens. I'm so sorry about that. And about my mother in the lobby. They're toxic. Elaine finishes, her expression softening unexpectedly. "I've dealt with toxic family too. Recognize the tactics the moment your father started talking about your poor sister and how you've abandoned your family responsibilities." Relief crashes through me like a wave. "I didn't abandon anyone. I escaped." Elaine nods. "Take whatever time you need to deal with this. And Megan, security has been notified not to allow either of your parents into the building again." Back at my desk, I unlock my phone to find 17 notifications. Rachel has been busy. Her Instagram post gleams with practiced indignation. "Some sisters abandon family when times get tough. Some of us stay and fight." My finger hovers over the screen for only a second before I block her. Then my parents. Then every flying monkey they've ever sent my way. Each tap feels like breaking a chain, and when I'm done, I'm lighter. The guilt that usually follows these small acts of self-protection is noticeably absent. Grandfather's home smells of pipe tobacco and old books, despite the fact he hasn't smoked in 15 years. The familiar scent steadies me as I wait in his study, manila folder clutched in my hands. My evidence, my truth. "They're here," he says, entering the room with a glass of water for me. His voice is gentle but firm, like always. Rachel came too. "Of course she did. The ambush tactic." I straighten the contents of my folder one last time: therapy reports documenting years of parentification, financial records of accounts opened in my name, photographs of bruises carefully dated and labeled, medical records showing Rachel's diagnoses and my parents' consistent refusal of recommended treatments. I'm ready, I tell him, though my heart against my ribs. They enter like a funeral procession, me father first, face creased with practiced concern, then my mother, eyes already glistening with unshed tears. Rachel trails behind, her expression a perfect mask of wounded innocence. 3 actors who've rehearsed their parts. Megan, my father begins, settling into the armchair across from me. We're here because we love you. I don't answer. Instead, I open the folder and place my therapy intake form from 7 years ago on the coffee table between us. This is why I left. I say, my voice steadier than I thought possible, not because I didn't love you enough, because I finally loved myself. My mother's eyes narrow at the document. What is this? I place another paper beside it. Credit card statements for accounts you opened in my name during my first semester of college. Another page joins it. Hospital records from when Rachel pushed me down the stairs when I was 12. And another. The form where Dad declined Rachel's recommended treatment plan, signed 3 separate times over 5 years. I was never your daughter, I say, the truth flowing through me like a river breaking through a dam. I was Rachel's keeper. I was her emotional regulation. I was the sacrifice you made so you wouldn't have to face her issues. My grandfather moves to stand beside me, his hand warm on my shoulder. I've watched this my whole life, he says, his voice heavy with the weight of years. It ends today. My mother's face hardens as she looks from the evidence to my grandfather. After everything we did for you, this is how you repay us? By poisoning your grandfather against us? When no guilt crashes through me, I realize just how far I've come. We won't help with Rachel's legal troubles, grandfather says firmly. Not this time. My father shifts uncomfortably. You don't understand what's at stake without that money. You'll cut me out of the will? Grandfather interrupts. Head. My mother's smile is thin and certain. We will. I've already changed mine, grandfather replies calmly. Megan is my heir now. The shock on their faces would be comical if it weren't so sad. Financial leverage, their favorite tool, suddenly useless. I turn to my father, asking the question that has haunted me since childhood. Did you ever love me for me? Not for what I could do for Rachel, or you just for being your daughter? His telling silence is the only answer I need. Rachel, sensing the shift in power, stands abruptly. This is bullshit. Her voice rises to that familiar pitch, the one that always preceded destruction in our childhood home. She abandoned us. She's always been jealous of me, and now she's turned Grandpa against us too. She grabs the therapy reports from the table, tearing them in half. These are lies. Tell them, Mom. Tell them how she always exaggerates. My mother doesn't move, her eyes fixed on my grandfather, calculation visible in every line of her face. Rachel's breath comes faster. Fine, don't defend me. She sweeps her arm across the coffee table, sending my carefully organized evidence scattering across the hardwood floor. For the first time, my grandfather sees Rachel clearly, not as the troubled granddaughter everyone must accommodate, but as a grown woman refusing accountability. The realization settles into the lines of his face. I think you should leave now, he tells my parents quietly. After they go, I sit in my grandfather's kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug of tea that's gone cold. I need to prepare. I say, more to myself than to him. They won't stop here. No, they won't, he agrees, reaching for his address book. I know a good lawyer, specializes in harassment case. I nod, already making mental lists. Cease and desist letter, security system for my apartment, new phone number maybe. My phone buzzes with messages from Hannah and Emma, checking in. Then another from my colleague Jenna. Hey, heard about your mom showing up. I've got a great security guy who did my condo after my divorce. Call me if you need anything. My circle of protection, my chosen family. They've created a fortress around me stronger than any wall my parents could breach. At what point does forgiveness become self-destruction? I don't know. But I do know that today, I stood my ground. The battle is far from over, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't standing alone. I sit cross-legged on my living room floor, camera positioned on the coffee table, the red recording light staring back at me like an unblinking eye. My name is Megan Carter. I begin, my voice stronger than I expected. This is the complete, unedited story of what happened in my family. I'm recording this because the truth deserves to exist somewhere besides just in my memories. For the next hour, I speak directly to the camera, documenting everything: the childhood incidents, the stolen college fund, the years of being told my sole purpose was to care for Rachel. I don't cry until I describe the night I left, how grandfather's headlights cutting through the darkness felt like salvation. When I finally stop recording, Hannah sits beside me on the floor, her cardigan sleeve brushing against my arm. "That was brave," she says, her voice gentle but firm. "Really brave." I nod, unable to speak for a moment. I need to understand what really happened with Rachel, what they were hiding all those years. The family therapist's office smells like lavender and old books. Dr. Linden, a woman in her 60s with silver-framed glasses, slides a folder across her desk toward me. Rachel was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder at 14. She says, her eyes kind but direct. With proper treatment, many people with BPD learn to manage their symptoms effectively. I stare at the treatment plans spanning years, all with the same notation at the bottom. Parents declined recommended course of treatment. My stomach twists. They refused treatment for decades? Dr. Linden removes her glasses. Your parents rejected dialectical behavior therapy, family therapy, and even basic medication management. They preferred to handle it within the family. I run my finger over the paper, years of my life summarized in clinical notes. They used me as her treatment plan. We've seen this pattern before, says Elaine, from the advocacy group, her office walls covered with empowerment posters. One child designated as the problem, another as the solution. The solution child isn't allowed to have needs of their own. I clutch my coffee cup tighter. I thought I was alone in this. Far from it, she replies, sliding a brochure toward me. That's why we exist. The text from Cousin David arrives while I'm reviewing notes from yesterday's meeting. Did you really abandon your family because Rachel needed help? Aunt Carol is saying some pretty wild stuff. Before I can respond, more messages arrive from extended family members I haven't heard from in years, each one more bewildering than the last. Your parents are planning a family reunion next month. Noticed you weren't on the invite list. What's going on? Your father showed up at church with Pastor Mike today, asking for prayers for your hardened heart. Then Hannah forwards me a link to the local newspaper's website. My mother's face stares back at me, eyes appropriately teary, beneath the headline. Local family struggles with estrangement, when mental health develops hold. I laugh. A sharp, bitter sound that startles even me. Their desperation is showing. My phone buzzes again. It's David. Just had coffee with your mom. Something felt off. What's really happening here? I take a deep breath and type. It's a long story, but I'd rather tell you my version myself. His response is immediate. I'm listening. By evening, my inbox is flooded. 3 cousins sharing similar stories of being scapegoated by the family. A message from Pastor Mike. Your father didn't tell me the whole story. I'd like to hear your perspective. Most surprisingly, an email from the newspaper editor. Miss Carter, your mother presented what appears to be a one-sided account. We pride ourselves on balanced reporting. Would you care to? The tables are turning so quickly I can barely keep up. Grandfather's open letter to the family arrives in everyone's email simultaneously. For 40 years, I've watched my son and daughter-in-law manipulate the truth about their daughters. I remain silent out of misguided respect. That silence ends today. His words, clear and unflinching, tell the story I could never fully articulate. Hannah offers to speak with any relatives who have questions. My coworkers form a protective circle around my desk when an unfamiliar car lingers in the parking lot. My boss implements new security protocols without me having to ask. The family reunion is canceled when half the guest list declines. Grandmother calls, her voice shaking with long overdue courage. I should have stood up to them years ago, Megan. I'm standing up now. Even Rachel's coworker Tina reaches out. Rachel's been telling stories about you for years. After seeing your parents in action at the office yesterday, I'm questioning everything. The first crack appears at 11:42 p.m. My phone lights up with my mother's number. Megan. Her voice breaks, not with the practiced sob I know so well, but with something raw and unfamiliar. I don't know how to fix this. The next morning, a handwritten letter from my father arrives. Mistakes were made. Grievous ones. Then a text from Rachel that simply reads, I'm starting therapy. Real therapy this time. I show Hannah the messages during lunch. She studies them carefully, professional assessment mingling with friendly concern. They're consulting with an actual family therapist, I tell her, after decades of refusal. When toxic systems start to crumble, Hannah says, stirring her tea thoughtfully, real change becomes possible. Not guaranteed, but possible. I nod, feeling neither triumph nor forgiveness, just a strange, quiet certainty. They finally realize their old tactics won't work anymore. The question now, Hannah says, is what you want moving forward. Healing doesn't necessarily mean reconciliation. I look out the window at the spring buds just beginning to open on the trees. I guess that's what I need to figure out. The knock comes at exactly 6 o'clock, just as Hannah predicted would. Right on time, I murmur, smoothing my hands over the stack of folders on the coffee table. They always did believe punctuality next to godliness. Remember, Hannah says from her position near the kitchen doorway, you've already won by being prepared. These are your terms. I nod, take a deep breath as I cross to the door. The perfect picture of contrition. My hand hesitates on the doorknob. 7 years of silence, and now they stand at my threshold like no time has passed at all. I open the door. Megan, sweetheart. Mom steps forward immediately, arms outstretched. The teddy bear, mister? Buttons, my childhood comfort object that mysteriously disappeared when I was 10 dangles from her hand like bait. We've been so... I step back, maintaining the distance. Please come in. Their eyes sweep my apartment, taking in the evidence of my success without them, the framed diploma, the tasteful furniture, the photos of me with people they don't know. Dad's gaze lingers on the laptop open on my dining table, the video call showing grandfather's face watching silently. I didn't realize this would be a group discussion, Mom says, her smile faltering. Grandfather is family too, I say simply. Please, sit down. They arrange themselves awkwardly on my couch, the couch I bought with my first bonus, the one I chose without anyone telling me it was impractical or too expensive or not right space. Megan, Dad begins, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket. We've been doing a lot of thinking, and we want to make things right. He slides the envelope toward me. This is the first payment toward what was borrowed from your accounts. I don't touch it. $20,000, I say. That's the amount you took from me. Not borrowed took. There's a difference. Rachel shifts forward, her face a mask of practiced emotion. Meg, I can't tell you how sorry I am for everything. Her voice breaks perfect on cue. The way I treated you growing up, the things I did. She reaches for my hand. I've been working through so much, and I just need my sister back. I move my hand away. When did your therapist suggest you say that, Rachel? Her eyes flicker, just for a moment. Surprise, then calculation. The whole church congregation is praying for you. Mom interjects, dabbing at her eyes. Pastor Miller asks about you every Sunday. They all think it's so sad how you abandoned your sister when she needed you most. When she's struggling with her emotional regulation, Dad adds, his voice dropping meaningfully. Family matters like these should stay private, don't you think? For everyone's sake. Mom clutches her chest suddenly. My blood pressure. I forgot my medication in the car. It's remarkable how familiar this dance is, the guilt, the threats, the sudden health concerns. For years, these tactics sent me scrambling to make peace, to fix everything, to be the good daughter they needed me to be. But today, I feel nothing but a cool clarity. I've invited you in because I have something to offer, I say, just as a gentle knock sounds at the door. That would be Emma. Emma walks in, her calm presence like a shield at my back. She nods briefly to my family before taking her place beside me, exactly as we rehearsed. I've prepared 3 options for how we move forward, I continue, opening the top folder on the wall. Option 1 involves no contact, a legal separation of all financial matters, and documentation of all past fraud for potential future action. Dad's face hardens. Now wait just a minute. I hold up my hand, and to my surprise, he falls silent. Option 2, I continue, involves limited contact under specific conditions. I press play on my phone, and the recording of their birthday call fills the room, their voices demanding money. The casual cruelty of reaching out after 7 years, only because they needed something. Rachel's face drains of color. You recorded us? Instead of responding, I open another folder, laying out bank statements showing the systematic emptying of accounts in my name. Next come the medical records, Rachel's multiple diagnoses, the recommended treatments my parents repeatedly declined, the medications abandoned. Where did you get those? Mom whispers. Those are private. Finally, I say, sliding forward a stack of letters. These are from Aunt Sylvia, Uncle David, Cousin Mark, and others. They've all reached out after learning the truth. They've all offered their support. The room falls completely silent. On the laptop screen, Grandfather watches without speaking, his presence a steady reminder that I'm not alone. My terms for option 2 are non-negotiable, I say, handing each of them a printed sheet. A professional mediator must be present for all family meetings. Rachel continues therapy consistently for 1 full year. You both attend the Parents of Adult Children therapy group at the community center. And a complete financial separation, with a payment plan for what was taken. Mom's face crumples, not in the performative way I've seen countless times, but in genuine despair as the facade finally cracks. Megan, we never meant. Yes, you did, I say quietly. You meant every bit of it. You just never expected to face consequences. Dad stares at his hands, silent tears tracking down his cheeks. Rachel sits frozen, perhaps facing adult accountability for the first time. And option 3? Dad finally asks, his voice rough. Option 3, I say, closing the folders with steady hands, is where you decide which matters more, having me in your life on terms that protect my dignity, or continuing as you always have. I stand, signaling the end of this part of our discussion. The choice is yours. I wake before my alarm, the gentle morning light filtering through my curtains. 1 year. The thought settles over me with a warmth I never expected to feel again. 1 year since I reclaimed my life from decades of obligation and guilt. My morning routine unfolds with a deliberate slowness that still feels like a luxury. No crisis calls to answer, no Rachel to manage, no parents to appease. Just the quiet rhythm of coffee brewing and the soft padding of my feet across hardwood floors. I pause at the gallery wall I've created in my living room. Where once stood formal family portraits with forced smiles are now candid snapshots of chosen family. Hannah laughing during our hiking trip. My coworkers at the team retreat, grandfather teaching me to make his famous blueberry pancakes. These faces reflect back genuine joy, not obligation. At my desk, I open my leather journal, the same one I wrote in that night when they called asking for money. I run my fingers over today's date and write, 1 year since I reclaimed my life. The words flow easily, no longer carrying the sharp edges of anger they once did. My phone chimes with birthday wishes before I've even left for work. Last year I celebrated alone with a single cupcake. Tonight, friends will fill my apartment. The contrast isn't lost on me. To Megan! Hannah raises her glass, her warm brown eyes crinkling at the corners. Who showed us all what courage looks like? My cheeks flush as friends gathered around my dining table join the toast. The table overflows with homemade dishes and bottles of wine. Laughter bubbles up easily, genuine and unguarded. You know, Emma says, passing me another slice of birthday cake, I remember when we first met. You barely smiled. Now look at you. I catch my reflection in the window, me eyes bright, shoulders relaxed, smile unforced. The woman staring back barely resembles the one who sat alone a year ago, terrified to answer her phone. Grandfather arrives late, clutching a small wrapped package. At 82, he still stands tall, though his steps have slowed. This was meant for you all along, he says, pressing the gift into my hands. Inside lies my grandmother's emerald pendant, the one my mother expected to inherit. The gold chain catches the light as I lift it. She wanted you to have it, grandfather whispers. She knew you had her spirit. After everyone leaves, I sit quietly with a cup of tea, taking inventory of the journey. My therapy graduation certificate hangs framed beside my degrees. The contact information for my support group is still pinned to my bulletin board, though now I facilitate more than participate. The volunteer work I do with young adults from toxic homes has become the most rewarding part of my week. I recognize my younger self in their wary eyes and guarded responses. But I also see their potential, waiting to be uncovered once they realize they deserve more. My family has taken different paths through this year. Rachel emails monthly updates from her treatment program. Her messages, once defensive and accusatory, have gradually shifted towards self-awareness. Mother attends Al-Anon meetings, slowly recognizing how her enabling damaged us both. Father remains absent, unable to face the truth about the family he created. Extended family has rallied in unexpected ways. New holiday traditions have formed that honor boundaries rather than trampling them. Cousins who once believed the narrative about my abandonment now understand the fuller truth. The scholarship fund I established for students estranged from family already has its first recipient. Grandfather matched my contribution, doubling its impact. The family recipe book sits on my counter, now filled with contributions from friends who have become family. A letter arrived yesterday from Jessie, a young woman I've been mentoring. You showed me I have choices. She wrote, I always thought I had to accept what my family gave me. Now I know I can build something better. When my phone rings with Rachel's name on the screen, I no longer feel the surge of dread I once did. Happy birthday, she says, her voice steady in a way it never was before. Thank you. I curl up on the window seat, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. I've been thinking about you all day. Rachel continues after a brief silence. About who we were, who I was. She takes a deep breath. I'm sorry for who I was back then. I'm more better. The words hang between us, the first genuine acknowledgement in our entire lives. I'm proud of your progress, I tell her, meaning it. But my forgiveness isn't your finish line. This is your journey now. After we hang up, I open the photo album grandfather gave me months ago. Inside are the few childhood pictures where I'm not overshadowed by Rachel's needs or my parents' expectations. I touch the face of my 6-year-old self, solemn eyes looking directly at the camera. I protected you the way they never did, I whisper. The doorbell rings, Hannah arriving early to help set up for the weekend brunch I'm hosting. I close the album and place it back on the shelf where it belongs, acknowledged but no longer defining me. As I walk toward the sound of Hannah's laughter, I feel the weight of the emerald pendant against my skin. Some inheritances are worth claiming. Others are better left behind. The candlelight flickers across 12 faces gathered around our dining room table. My father sits at the head, his birthday candles casting a warm glow that softens the lines of age around his eyes. I sit quietly, watching the scene unfold like I'm somehow separate from it. A spectator in my own family. Mom's hand rests briefly on my shoulder, her touch warm through the thin fabric of my blouse. "I'm so proud of how dedicated Mira is to her studies," she says, and for a moment, I feel a rare spark of validation bloom in my chest. Then, Sloane's voice cuts through the moment. "Well, yeah, she's got nothing else going on in her life." The table falls silent. Dad's fork freezes halfway to his mouth. Aunt Martha's eyes dart between us, her smile faltering. I stare at my plate, watching the mashed potatoes cool. Someone Uncle Paul, I think, offers an uncomfortable chuckle that dies as quickly as it started. "No friends, no boyfriend, no job," Sloane continues, her voice carrying the same casual cruelty she's perfected over 30 years. She reaches for her wine glass, takes a deliberate sip. "Just bugs and my kids." I look up then, meeting Sloane's gaze across the polished oak table. My sister's smirk sits perfectly on her face, like she's just made a harmless joke we should all appreciate. At 30, she still possesses the effortless ability to make me feel small. Like I'm still the little sister trailing behind her, desperate for approval. The air in the room shifts. Everyone waits for my response. I force my lips into what I hope passes for a smile, though it feels more like a grimace. The wound forms beneath my expression, invisible but deepening. "How is the college application process going, Mira?" Dad asks, his clumsy attempt to change the subject both touching and insufficient. Before I can answer, Sloane interrupts again. "Honestly, if I didn't ask her to babysit, she'd probably be growing moss at home." Something tightens inside me then, my hands around my water glass, my jaw, something deeper I can't name. Across the table, Cousin Lana catches my eye. Something passes between us, a silent acknowledgement I've never noticed before. In that moment, I see the pattern that's been there for years. Sloane's casual dismissals, the way my family nods along, the expectations that I'll always be available for her children while my own life waits. I say nothing. The choice feels strangely powerful, more than any defense could be. Later, after the cake has been served and the conversation has moved on to safer topics, my mind drifts back to yesterday racing from AP Biology to Sloane's house because she had an emergency hair appointment. The boys were watching television when I arrived, homework forgotten on the kitchen counter. Sloane didn't return for 4 hours. I think about last month's college fair, the one I missed because Ethan had a cold. About the Stanford application deadline I barely met, typing feverishly at midnight after putting the boys to bed when Sloane's quick dinner with friends stretched past 11. Just for an hour, her texts always read. 1 hour becomes 3. 3 becomes an evening. My textbooks sit unopened. My own deadlines approach, then pass. In the kitchen after dinner, I stand alone at the sink, methodically rinsing plates and loading them into the dishwasher. The familiar rhythm soothes me, gives my hands something to do while my mind replays Sloane's words. A presence beside Milana, rolling up her sleeves and grabbing a dish towel without asking. "You know she's wrong about you, right?" she says quietly, eyes fixed on the glass she's drying. The simple statement cuts through years of doubt. I've never heard anyone in my family contradict the narrative Sloane has created about me. I nod wordlessly, unable to find my voice. Something shifts in my expression. I feel it happening, like a door long shut creaking open. Lana places the dried glass in the cabinet and turns to me, her voice low so the others in the living room can't hear. "You don't owe her free childcare just because you're her sister." The words hang between us, dangerous and true. When I finally respond, my voice sounds steadier than I expect. I know. But do I? Have I ever really known that? The realization settles over me like a new weight, heavier than before, but somehow less suffocating. What would you do if your own family openly mocked your dreams and took your kindness for granted? Stay with me, because my response over the next few weeks will leave you speechless and might just inspire you to reclaim your own worth. My calendar hangs on the wall beside my desk, a grid of tiny squares filled with more of Sloane's commitments than my own. Red ink marks babysitting days that consume most afternoons and weekends. Blue ink me actual life appears in thin slivers between her demands. I trace my finger over next weekend, already blocked out in red. Boys, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. A familiar heaviness settles in my chest. The Stanford application sits half-finished on my laptop, due in 3 days. My AP Bio study group needs my research contribution by Sunday. My phone lights up with another text. Sloane, of course. Can you take the boys Wednesday too? Dinner with clients. No, please. No acknowledgement that Wednesday is already marked for my college interview prep. Just another demand, as casual as borrowing a sweater she'll never return. The realization clicks into place like the final piece of a puzzle I've been assembling for years without seeing the picture. Sloane doesn't view me as a person with my own life. I'm a resource. Free childcare with a convenient blood connection. I stand before my bathroom mirror, gripping the edge of the sink. I'm sorry, I can't this weekend. My voice comes out whisper, soft. I clear my throat and try again. I'm sorry, I can't this weekend. Better. Still too apologetic. One more time. I can't babysit this weekend. My reflection stares back, hazel eyes wider than usual. My hands tremble as I type the message. I delete and rewrite it 3 times before hitting send. Simple and direct. I can't watch the boys this Saturday. I have a study group I can't miss. The response comes less than a minute later. The boys will be so disappointed. They've been talking about seeing their aunt all week. My stomach twists. I picture Ethan's face falling, Max asking repeatedly when I'm coming over. My finger hovers over the keyboard, the instinct to cave rising like a tide. No, for once, I hold firm. I'm sorry, I'll see them next week. I breathe deep, feeling strangely light despite the guilt. One small stand. My first. Saturday morning, the doorbell rings at 9:17. I'm already at my desk, notes spread across the surface, laptop open to research I've been collecting for months. The Stanford essay finally feels within reach. The bell rings again, more insistent, then again. When I open the door, Ethan and Max stand on the porch, alone. Over their shoulders, I catch Sloane's silver sedan pulling away from the curb, brake lights flashing once before she turns the corner. Aunt Mira! Max throws his arms around my legs. Ethan looks up, his smile hesitant. Mom said you'd make us pancakes. Their backpacks bulge with toys, snacks, and extra clothes packed for a full day. Planned in advance. Where's your mom going? I ask, even though I already know. Shopping with friends, Ethan says with a shrug that mimics his mother's casual dismissal. My phone buzzes with texts from my study group. They've been waiting 20 minutes at the library. My research, the foundation for our shared project, sits packaged neatly in my bag by the door. Come on in, guys. I step aside, watching my carefully arranged day crumble. 3 hours later, the boys build a fort in the living room while I stare at my phone. 5 missed calls from my project partners. One terse message. We're moving forward without your research. Had to split your section among ourselves. My chance to impress Mrs. Bentley, the AP Bio teacher with connections at every university I'm applying to, gone. I text Sloane. Why didn't you ask first? Her reply bubbles up immediately. You know I'm busy. What do you have going on that's more important? The screen blurs as I blink back tears. What could I possibly have that matters more than her needs? My future, my education, my one shot at a scholarship that would change everything. But Sloane doesn't see any of that. She never has. Max crawls into my lap, a picture book clutched in his small hands. Read, Aunt Mira? I pull him close, breathing in the scent of apple shampoo and crayon wax. This isn't his fault, or Ethan's. They settle against me as I read about a small bear finding his courage. My voice steady despite the storm inside. Nothing will change unless I change it. She just dropped them off? After you said no? Lana's voice crackles through my phone that evening. The boys went home an hour ago, Sloan breezing in with shopping bags and no apology. She does this all the time. My voice shakes. She knows I won't turn them away. Because you love them, Lana says. But your time has value, Mira. She needs to respect that. I sink onto my bed. How? She doesn't listen. Professional babysitters get paid, Lana says, her tone matter of fact. Start charging for your services. The suggestion jolts through me like an electric current. She's my sister. Who's using you? Lana counters. Family helps family, sure. But this isn't helping anymore, it's taking advantage. After we hang up, I stare at my ceiling, picturing Sloane's face if I handed her an invoice. The thought sends a strange thrill through me. On my laptop, I search babysitting rates in Wisconsin. The results make my eyes widen. $12 per hour. Per child. I open a spreadsheet, fingers flying across the keys. Hours given, weekends sacrificed, opportunities missed. By the time I finish, the number at the bottom steals my breath. $3,618. Nearly 2 years of my life, calculated in dollars and cents. In the next room, I hear my father laughing at something on television. My mother calls out that it's time for dessert. Normal family sounds from people who never notice what happens right under their roof. I save the document, naming it simply, My Time. For the first time in years, that's exactly what it will be. Mine. The candlelight flickers differently tonight, harsher somehow against the familiar faces of my family. 2 weeks have passed since Dad's birthday dinner, but the memory of Sloane's words still burns like a fresh wound. I sit straighter in my chair, shoulders back instead of curled inward as they've been for most of my 18 years. So I've applied to Wisconsin, Madison, and Minnesota, I say, answering Aunt Martha's question about my college plans. The biology programs at both are excellent. My voice carries across the dining room with a clarity that surprises even me. Mom passes the green bean casserole, her eyebrows lifting slightly at my confident tone. Uncle Paul nods. Good schools. Competitive, too. She'll get in, Cousin Lana says, reaching for her water glass. Mira's GPA is nearly perfect. From across the table, Sloane watches me through narrowed eyes. She's been unusually quiet tonight, pushing her pot roast around her plate with deliberate movements. Her wine glass has been refilled twice already. Application deadlines are coming up fast, I continue, addressing the table at large. I've been working on essays every night this week. Sloane's fork clatters against her plate. Now I know who really has a heart and who doesn't. The room falls silent. Forks pause midway to mouths. Aunt Martha's glass freezes halfway to her lips. Even the boys, Ethan and Max, sense the sudden tension and stop their whispered game. Sloane, Dad warns quietly. My sister ignores him, her gaze fixed on me. Some people make family a priority, others just don't. Mom places her hand on mine. Mira has always been there for you, honey. Not anymore, Sloane says with a bitter laugh. Too busy with her precious college applications to help her own sister. Meanwhile, I'm drowning trying to work and raise 2 boys alone. I count silently to 5, focusing on my breathing the way my AP biology teacher taught us before exams. Mom squeezes my hand, a familiar gesture that whelmed me but now feels like part of the problem. Maybe be the bigger person, Mira, she whispers, just loud enough for everyone to hear. Family comes first. Something snaps inside me then, not with a dramatic crack, but with the quiet finality of ice breaking on a spring lake. I set my fork down beside my plate with deliberate calm. The small clink against china ripples through the silent room. Everyone grows still, waiting. Even Max stops fidgeting in his booster seat. 12 pairs of eyes fix on me, anticipation hanging in the air like summer humidity. Real adults don't take advantage of others and call it love. The words leave my mouth steady and clear, surprising me with their strength. Mom gasps, her hand lifting to cover her mouth. Dad's eyebrows shoot at his receding hairline. Aunt Martha's eyes widen. Sloane's face flushes crimson, blotches spreading up her neck to her cheeks. How dare you? I've watched your children 37 times in the past 4 months. I continue, my voice level. Last-minute calls, canceled plans, missed deadlines. All so you could have just an hour that always turned into 4 or 5. Dad clears his throat but says nothing. His fingers tap against the tablecloth, a nervous habit I've seen 1,000 times. Aunt Martha suddenly becomes very interested in her mashed potatoes, pushing them into careful peeks with her fork. Uncle Paul shifts in his seat, the wooden chair creaking beneath him. Across the table, Lana catches my eye and gives the smallest nod of approval, almost imperceptible but enough. "Excuse me," I say, folding my napkin beside my half-finished dinner. The chair legs scrape against hardwood as I stand. No one stops me as I walk through the kitchen and out onto the back porch. The April evening wraps around me, cool air filling my lungs. My heart pounds in my chest, but my hands remain steady as I pull my phone from my pocket. Leaning against the porch railing, I open my notes app and begin typing. $12 hour per child standard rate. Weekends only. 24-hour notice minimum. Payment upfront. The screen glows in the gathering dusk as I add more details, outlining boundaries I should have set long ago. Inside, I hear the muffled sounds of conversation resuming, Sloane's voice rising and falling in familiar patterns. But something has shifted tonight. A foundation stone moved from its long-settled place. When I return to the table 10 minutes later, the conversation stutters momentarily before continuing. I slide into my seat with a calm I've never felt before, purpose replacing the anger that drove me outside. "Would anyone like more potatoes?" Mom asks, her voice overly bright. Later, as the dishes are being cleared, Lana finds me in the kitchen, dish towel in hand. "That took courage," she says quietly, taking a plate for me to dry. "What's your next move?" I glance toward the dining room where Sloane is helping Max with his dessert, making sure no one can overhear. From my pocket, I pull out my phone and show her the rate sheet I've created. "Wow," Lana says, eyebrows raised. "You're actually going to charge her?" "Her and anyone else who wants my time," I reply, surprised at the steadiness in my voice. "I'm worth more than free labor." Lana studies the screen, then hands the phone back with a smile. "You know, you should broaden your client base. Sloane isn't the only one who needs reliable childcare." An idea forms, taking shape like a specimen under a microscope, clear and defined. I nod slowly. "You're right." That night, my bedroom quiet around me at last. I sit at my desk and open Facebook. The blue light of the screen illuminates my determined expression as I craft a post with careful, measured words. Summer babysitting available, weekends only. $12 hour per kid, CPR certified. Looking for respectful families only. My finger hovers over the post button. In the glow of the screen, I glimpse my reflection, shoulders straight, chin lifted. Then I press firmly, sending my declaration out into the world. What happens when you finally stand up for yourself after years of being taken for granted? Does the world collapse, or does it open up? I'm about to find out. My phone buzzes on the nightstand, jolting me from the calculus problem I've been staring at for 20 minutes. Not Sloane again, but when I glance at the screen, the notification surprises me. "Mrs. Landon, would you be available this Saturday from 2 to 6 p.m. to watch Emily and Jason? We pay $15 hour per child." I blink twice, rereading the message from my English teacher's wife. My post has been up less than 6 hours. The phone buzzes again and again. Each notification brings a similar request: neighbors, church members, parents of underclassmen needing childcare, all offering payment. Unlike Sloane's demands, each message contains a please, a specific time frame, and an acknowledgement of compensation. I open my calendar app, the one I've used to track Sloane's emergencies for 2 years, and begin blocking out my new schedule. Within 3 days, every available weekend slot fills with paying clients. I leave Sunday mornings open for myself, sacred time for college applications and sleep. When I edit my Instagram bio to include weekend babysitting, fully booked through August, a strange pride warms my chest. Perfect. I examine the photo on my phone. My half-completed Stanford application next to the simple contract I've created for my services. The paper bears checkboxes for emergency contact information, food allergies, and expected return time. Small things Sloan never bothered to provide. My thumb hovers over the caption I've typed. When kindness turns into obligation, it's time to draw a line. Is it too much? Too pointed? But the memory of Sloane's words at Dad's birthday dinner, she's got nothing else going on in her life, hardens something inside me. I press share. The likes and comments flow immediately. Mrs. Chen from AP Biology. Good for you. Reverend Miller's wife, teaching valuable lessons about respecting others' time. Proud of you. Even Mr. Abernathy, our crusty old government teacher, establishing healthy boundaries exemplifies mature citizenship. What surprises me isn't the support, it's how many women twice my age comment with variations of, I wish I'd learned this at your age. Mira, I need you tonight. Sloane's voice on the phone holds that familiar edge of assumed compliance. I'm not available tonight. The words come easier now, my third time saying them this week. What do you mean, not available? Mom said you're just studying. I have a client at 6:30. I continue organizing my notes, phone tucked between ear and shoulder. Silence then. A client? Since when do you call your own nephews clients? I don't. The Wilsons twins are my clients. They pay me to watch their children. The explosive sound from the other end might be a laugh or a scoff. You're babysitting for other people but not helping your own sister? I set down my pencil, focusing fully on the call. They pay me, and more importantly, they respect me. I'm not available for people who don't. Her breathless pause signals the direct hit. This is ridiculous. The line goes dead. 3 weeks later, my mother watches me count out bills on my bedroom desk. $215. More money than I've ever had at once. Your father mentioned you seem happier lately, she says, leaning against my doorframe. I am. I separate the bills into neat stacks: college application fees, laptop fund, spending money. Mom steps into the room, examining the organized piles. I've been taking the boys on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She rubs her lower back. Max is getting heavy. I nod, waiting. I don't know how you managed them and kept your grades up. Her voice carries a new understanding. I didn't really. I slide the application fee money into an envelope. I missed 2 scholarship deadlines last month because Sloan dropped them off without warning. Mom's face tightens. We both know this admission would have sparked an argument 3 weeks ago, a lecture about family obligations. Now she just sighs. Well, I'm proud of you for. She gestures vaguely at my desk, my calendar, the new confidence in my posture. All of this, taking charge. When she leaves, I open my laptop, still an ancient hand-me-down from Dedan Research Models that would support the biology program's software requirements. In 6 more weekends, I'll have enough. My phone lights up with a text from Lana. Did you hear about Sloane's interview? My stomach tightens. No, what happened? Sitter canceled last minute. She missed it. I sink onto my bed. The district manager position she's wanted for months, the one that would finally give her benefits and regular hours. Despite everything, a pang of guilt surfaces. The next text follows quickly. Not your problem. You warned her the world doesn't run on her schedule. I stare at the ceiling, thinking of Ethan and Max. They didn't ask for any of this. For their unreliable mother, for the instability. I wonder what they've been told about my sudden absence from their daily lives. My phone buzzes again. Sloan, I heard you're babysitting for other people but not helping your own sister. I draft and delete 3 different responses before settling on the truth. They pay me, and more importantly, they respect me. I'm not available for people who don't. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again, then nothing. I wait for the familiar anxiety to rise, the dread of disappointing others, of causing conflict. Instead, I feel a calm certainty. For the first time in years, I haven't abandoned myself to keep someone else happy. I set the phone aside and return to my college essay draft. The prompt asks about a challenge I've overcome. 3 weeks ago, I would have invented something impressive sounding. Now my fingers move steadily across the keyboard, telling the truth about finding my voice. The candles on Mom's birthday cake throw dancing shadows across the dining room. 2 months since Dad's birthday dinner, but the room feels different now. I sit straighter in my chair, no longer hunched as if waiting for the next blow. Uncle Paul asks about my college applications while passing the green bean casserole. Madison's biology program would be lucky to have you. Across the table, Sloane shifts in her seat. She interjects about Ethan's soccer tournament, but Aunt Martha keeps her focus on me. Have you heard back from any schools yet? Before I can answer, Sloane taps her fork against her water glass. Mom, did I tell you about the promotion I'm up for? Dad nods politely, but his eyes drift back to me. The family orbit no longer revolves exclusively around Sloane's son. Ethan tugs at Sloane's sleeve. When's Aunt Mira coming over again? She promised to help with my science project. The question drops into the conversation like a stone into still water. Sloane's fork freezes midway to her mouth. Why doesn't Aunt Mira come play anymore? Max pipes up from his booster seat, tomato sauce ringing his mouth. The room grows quiet. 12 pairs of eyes drift between Sloane and me. Aunt Mira is busy with school things, she finally says, the words sounding hollow even to my ears. Nobody says it, but everyone at the table recognizes the deflection. After dinner, I find Ethan alone on the back porch steps, knees pulled up to his chest. The evening air carries the scent of lilacs from Mrs. Henderson's yard next door. You okay, buddy? His small shoulders lift in a half-hearted shrug. Are you mad at us? My heart cracks open. I turn to face him fully, waiting until his eyes meet mine. I love you very much, I say, each word deliberate. I'm just teaching your mom about respect. Ethan considers this, his forehead creased in concentration. Mom says we always have to say please and thank you. A laugh escapes me, unexpected and genuine. That's exactly right. The screen door creaks. Mom steps onto the porch, dish towel slung over her shoulder. After Ethan scampers inside, she lowers herself onto the step beside me with a sigh that speaks of bone-deep weariness. I didn't realize how much you were doing for your sister, she says after a long pause. I study the chipped polish on my fingernails. What do you mean? I've been watching the boys twice a week since you. She trails off, searching for the right words. Since you became unavailable. It's exhausting, she admits, voice barely above a whisper. I don't know how you managed with school. For years I've craved this recognition. Now that it's here, I'm not sure what to do with it. Back inside, the conversation in the living room shifts when I enter. Uncle Paul asks about my little babysitting business, his tone carrying genuine interest. She's made quite a name for herself, Lana offers. She's booked solid through August. I saw your Instagram post about safety tips for new sitters, Aunt Martha adds. Very professional. Sloane starts to interrupt, something about unreliable childcare, but Dad gently redirects her. Another shift in the family current, subtle but unmistakable. Later, passing the hallway bathroom, I overhear Aunt Martha's voice. You took advantage of her goodness, Sloane. My sister's response is too quiet to make out, but the defensive tone carries through the door. I slip away, a strange satisfaction warming my chest. This isn't just about me anymore. The entire family system is recalibrating around this new truth. In the kitchen, Lana helps me arrange cookies on a serving platter. Everyone's talking about it, she says quietly. Not just tonight. At book club, Mom mentioned how you'd started charging fair rates. Aunt Helen said she wished she'd done the same 30 years ago. The cookie in my hand hovers midway to the plate. Really? You've got 3 generations of women rethinking what they've given away for free. When Uncle Paul asks about my college plans over dessert, I speak with a confidence that would have been unthinkable months ago. I've already been accepted to Wisconsin State with a partial scholarship. I say, the words no longer feeling like bragging. Just before we leave, Sloane corners me by the coat rack. Her eyes glitter with something between anger and desperation. You've turned everyone against me, she hisses. I take my time buttoning my coat. When I finally meet her gaze, my voice comes out calm and clear. I'm no longer the free babysitter everyone assumed I'd always be. I have goals, and I decide who gets my time. The power isn't in the words themselves, but in the quiet certainty behind them. Sloane blinks first, taking half a step back. As I walk to the car, I catch Mom watching me with something new in her eyes. Not just pride, but respect. I've claimed my worth after years of being undervalued. The world hasn't ended. Instead, it's expanded to make room for this new version of me, one who knows exactly what she's worth. The acceptance letter from Wisconsin-Madison sits pinned to my bulletin board, its official letterhead catching the morning light. Next to it, 3 other college letters form a row of possibilities I couldn't have imagined 6 months ago. I run my fingers across my new laptop keyboard purchased with my own money and check my calendar for the day. Study group at 10, babysitting the Henderson twins at 2, coffee with Lana at 5. No emergency text from Sloane, no last-minute please, just my time, organized by my choices. Dad pokes his head through my half-open door. You heading out soon? After breakfast. I close my biology notes and stretch. I'm meeting the study group at the library. He lingers, his eyes traveling to the acceptance letters. I told Dr. Washburn about Madison yesterday. He has a colleague in their biology department. The pride in his voice warms something deep inside me. Not the desperate gratitude I once felt for scraps of attention, but something steadier. Mutual respect. Higher, Aunt Mira, push me higher. Ethan pumps his legs on the swing, his face tilted toward the spring sky. I give another push, watching his body soar through the air. Max toddles around the sandbox nearby, his chubby hands packing sand into a bright red bucket. From a bench 20 yards away, Sloane checks her watch. 30 more minutes, boys, she calls. Our arrangement glows crisp and clear between us. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3:30 to 5 o'clock. $20 per session. Sloane tried negotiating the rate down once. I simply walked away. She never tried again. Do the countdown, Aunt Mira, Ethan squeals. I grab the chains of his swing during his forward arc, holding him suspended for one dramatic moment. 3, 2, 1. Blast off. I release the swing and he sails forward, shrieking with delight. These moments, the ones I choose, rather than the ones thrust upon me, shine brightest now. Mom sets a casserole on the dining room table, her movements more deliberate than they were a year ago. She started taking a watercolor class on Wednesdays, the same night she used to watch the boys while Sloane went to book club. I told Karen I couldn't host the fundraising committee anymore, Mom mentions, passing the salad. Twice a month is plenty. The confidence in her voice mirrors my own journey. The lessons of boundaries spreading through our family like ripples in water. Mira's getting an award at graduation, Dad announces. Department recognition for her biology research project. Aunt Martha nods. I saw your post about it. Fascinating work. Across the table, Sloane pushes food around her plate. Must be nice having so much free time for bugs, she mutters, the familiar edge creeping into her voice. The table quiets. I feel the familiar tightening in my chest. Before I can respond, Dad clears his throat. Speaking of time management, Sloane, how's that promotion coming along? The redirection flows so naturally, I almost miss it. Aunt Martha follows with a question about Sloane's department. The conversation shifts. I catch Dad's eye. The slight nod between us acknowledges what just happened. He stepped in, so I didn't have to. The family system recalibrating around my worth rather than despite it. But Jessica always expects me to drop everything when she calls. My cousin Amy twists her friendship bracelet, her 14-year-old face creased with frustration. We sit on the back porch swing, watching evening settle over the yard. Your kindness is precious. Share it with those who value it, I tell her. But isn't that selfish? I shake my head. There's a difference between selfish and self-respect. One takes from others, the other simply requires that others not take from you. Amy considers this. Did Aunt Sloane get mad when you stopped being available all the time? Furious. I laugh softly. But then something unexpected happened. The boys started getting more quality time with me, not less. Ethan told me he likes having special Aunt Mira days on the calendar, she says. I smile, thinking of my nephew's latest words. Waiting makes it more special. My suitcase lies open on my bed, half packed for college. Textbooks and sweaters folded neatly beside my microscope. On my desk, Ethan's crayon drawing a stick figure with brown hair surrounded by butterflies. Across the top in wobbly letters, I love when you babysit us. Beside it sits my calendar, next semester already marked with visits home. 2 weekends each month highlighted in yellow. Ethan and Max time. I pin the drawing to my bulletin board alongside the acceptance letters. The boundaries I built weren't walls after all. They were bridges stronger and safer than the worn paths of obligation I once traveled without question. Tomorrow I'll drive away from this house, but I'm not leaving behind what matters. I'm taking with me the gift of my own worth, and the knowledge that true love thrives within clear boundaries.